Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. As always, my name is Mike. I'm here with my co-host Duff.
Hey, guys.
Our producer Nico.
Hey, howdy, hey.
And on this episode, it's actually a special episode. This is a two-parter episode. The first part is actually on the Fear and Beer podcast feed. So go ahead and, if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and hop over and listen to that. On this, we actually have Nick and Seamus from Fear and Beer to go over the last three icons. We went over the first two on that show, so go ahead and listen to it and then come back and we'll listen to this show. Let's hop into it, guys.
For sure. Glad to be over on this feed now. We just kind of traveled along the internet and landed in two different spots.
Yeah,
exciting.
Yeah, it's like we took a long break. Actually, we didn't at all. We just spliced it. So who wants to go first? We still have, I believe, Seamus, myself, and Duff to go. Who would like to kick it off on our... Okay, I'll kick it off. So, if you've listened to the show, you know that one of my favorite... I don't know if it's my favorite icon, probably, but I'm a big fan of, like, the Usher. And the reason why Usher is because he definitely tied into, like, classic Universal Pictures and just movies in general. So I definitely kind of leaned that way when coming up with this guy. But I'm going to just hop right into his backstory. So it goes like, Hal Hobbs has show business in his blood. Hal was born on his maternal grandfather's traveling carnival, Dr. Oddfellow's Carnival of Thrills. Both his parents performed at the carnival as rodeo performers, and Hal became a stunt rider at a very young age. Hal and his family's rodeo show slowly grew to become one of Dr. Oddfellow's best attractions. As Hal grew, he became the star, with people traveling miles to see the boy who could ride a horse better than Will Rogers. At 11, Hal lost his footing during a stunt and fell backwards, landing on his neck, seamlessly paralyzing him instantly. Hal was quickly rushed out of the arena, and instead of being taken to the nearest hospital, his grandfather ordered him to be taken to his office and demanded everyone to leave. Thinking only of the future of the carnival without its star, Oddfellow pulled out a set of tools, pried off the last remaining bracket on his cane, and melted it down and poured it into a mold. From the mold, he pulled out a shiny silver arrowhead and tied a piece of twine around it. He then laid the arrowhead on Hal's chest, and the feeling in Hal's body instantly returned. Only months after the accident, Dr. Oddfellow was murdered. As Jack Schmidt seized power over the carnival, Hal and his family quickly fled to a small farm outside of Cary, Ohio, to lay low. Hal realized that when wearing the arrowhead, he was unable to get seriously injured. Hal was forbidden by his parents to draw any attention to himself to prevent Jack and his minions from finding them or the arrowhead, which meant no more show business, sports, or horse stunt riding. Hal became obsessed with movies and television instead. He spent most of his teens at the movie theater and at the Cary Drive-In, dreaming about being a movie star. When he was 18, he moved to Hollywood to pursue a career in film. Hal quickly became a stunt double due to his inability to get injured, doing stunts for many major movies, including the Universal classic monster movies. Hal finally got his big break as a lead actor in a movie and was forced to remove the arrowhead temporarily. While performing, there was an explosion on the set which burned Hal's face, leaving him with nasty scarring. This ended his dreams of ever being a lead actor again. After the accident, Hal goes on a downward spiral, fueled by the anger and jealousy of always having to be a stunt double and never a leading actor. Hal continues to work as a stunt double, becoming one of Universal Pictures' go-to stuntmen. One night after filming, Hal follows a leading actress from a movie he was working on. He disguises himself as her roommate to gain access to her apartment before murdering her. The LA area begins experiencing a string of murders in which the murderer disguises himself as someone close to the victim before attacking. Hal is able to evade law enforcement, and the string of murders are nicknamed the body double murders. While working on his last film, The Lightning Gulch, which was a Universal Western, an earthquake on the set causes Hal to get buried alive in the rubble with his arrowhead. Due to the accident, the film was never released. In 2008, following the Universal backlot fire, construction unearthed Hal's resting place, unleashing the body double on the Universal backlot once more. So let me draw in the picture.
I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, me too. Bringing some real lore into it as well. I like it.
That was pure HHN nerd porn.
He is in his Lightning Gulch costume here, his gunslinger outfit. But the good thing about him is because he is a body double, he can wear different outfits, but he'll most likely be in this kind of gunslinger outfit.
I like
awesome.
his goofy face.
I mean, from a Stephen King fan, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a huge Dark Tower series fan. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I like how you went with that, like, Man in Black style, bad guy, quote unquote. I think he's pretty cool.
I love the whole like deformed face, the like that cowboy aesthetic. Tying it in with everything that you did was really cool to intertwine. Like, we've had that story of Jack and the Oddfellows and stuff like that, but you hid like a whole secondary story that was never talked about. I love when new stories come from old stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was joking with my wife that he kind of was like the Forrest Gump of HHN, where he just kind of like pops into different people's backstories. And I scaled it back a little bit because I was going to go a lot further, but I decided just to kind of do that.
I think I like how deep you went into HHN lore, because you started out with Oddfellows, and I thought, that's his story. Okay, cool. He's tied there. And then you just kept expanding and touching other parts. And I was like, man, you thought that out really well, man.
Yeah, and it's great because it could tie into so many different spots. He's almost like the shapeshifter of icons, essentially.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. That he's the body double. He can morph into kind of whatever creative wants him to be.
Yeah, and it goes with his story where he's forced to hide his identity almost, where he's that almost like spy style.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I was going for.
So, out of curiosity, is there any other outfit you particularly envision him in, since he can switch outfits?
I would say maybe like some of the Universal classic monsters, like other. Maybe other movies that he was like a body double for, but this was kind of the main one that I was thinking. It would be like the gunslinger outfit here.
And is that a prop gun, or is that a real gun?
It's a prop gun, I'm sure.
Okay.
we don't want any Brandon Lee situations going on.
Oh man!
But
Ooh.
Shout out to the Crow.
Yeah, that's one of Duff's favorite movies, by the way.
It's an awesome movie. I mean, completely out of left field, but awesome movie.
We actually, we'll just say we might talk about it one day on our show.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, we'll be looking forward to that one. That's a classic right there.
Oh yeah. All right. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we can move on to me if you want to.
Yeah,
we can,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. So far, we've heard from Nick, Nico, and Mike, and it seems that like you guys have gone way out there, and I think it's great. And I'm probably gonna like come up short compared to everybody else. But like Nico said in the first episode, I'm relatively new to HHN. Last year was the first year I'd ever actually been to HHN. I've known about it. I've watched a lot of stuff about it growing up in the Northeast, but never really had the opportunity to come down here to Florida or go out to California to actually see it in person. So last year was like my first real experience with HHN. So I'm pulling a lot from what we had last year with my character. What I came up with was essentially based on the scare zone. I don't even know what you call it. I looked at it as like cannibalistic Vikings, and it was the one that was over by the NBC Comcast restaurant, that area on over that side of the park. So what I did is I came up with a dude. His name is Fenrir. It's actually a nickname that I'm trying to think of like what you would say, but like, people gave him this nickname Fenrir, and the reason they gave him the nickname Fenrir is that it's actually one of Loki's son. If you look in Norse mythology, and Loki's son Fenrir was a wolf god, I guess you could call him, and he, as the story goes, bit the hand of Tyr, I think is what it says here. I'm not an expert in Norse mythology, but I thought it was pretty cool. So what I did was I came up with a gentleman who goes by Fenrir the Devourer. He actually kind of really went hard in the cannibalistic side of things. Him and his clan and his fellow captains, when they would conquer a land or conquer another settlement, they would feast upon the enemy that they had come in contact with and warred with. Unfortunately for Fenrir here, though, is that when the overarching, whoever went, other people within the Viking culture, came upon, stories of, oh, this Fenrir guy, Fenrir the Devourer, he would devour his enemies. They looked at it as, cannibalism is an affront to their gods, an affront to their religion. And when it came to bringing this person in front of their, what do you want to call it? Essentially, what happens is like the leaders of the Viking, culture. I don't know. I'm not an expert in the
like
Viking
council
culture,
or something.
The council, yeah. Essentially, what happens is he is brought forth. He is condemned and said, you go against what we as a people believe. Cannibalism is wrong. We don't believe in that. We don't think that's right. What they end up doing is they either exile his captains and exile himself, or they execute his captains who choose not to be exiled. He has exiled himself to some random island in the northern seas, and he knows that he will eventually one day come back. So what happens is, obviously in Norse mythology, is if you die of old age, if you die of natural causes, that actually doesn't get you to Valhalla, which is their heaven, which is where the warriors will go if they die in battle. He unfortunately goes to hell, and he becomes a soul of Hela. And what happens in our realm is that fear has now become powerful enough to challenge Jack as basically say that, you are no longer the leader of the icons. I am now powerful enough to start building a team of my own, or an army of my own. And what he's going to do is going out and find, the most powerful icons that he can come up with. And what he does is he goes to Hell itself and, confronts Hela and says, I need, the most powerful of your souls that have been, banished to the realm of hell. She refuses. So what he does is he kind of goes in secret and he releases Fenrir as an icon and brings him to our realm to build his team of, or his army of, I don't want to say minions, but like his army of enemy icons that will eventually compete with Jack, and because Jack's had a pretty good control for a very long time, and I think it's time for someone else to kind of take that control. And I think with the with the scare zone that was there last year, I think that there's something that they could build off of as far as a house is concerned and that sort of thing. So, not didn't really think about it as much as you guys did, but it's kind of where I went with it. And I don't know. Let me dump the picture into the chat so you can guys see what I'm looking at.
Excited to see this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And again, I like how it was kind of like where mine is too, where it's like there's these really great scare zones that like just were just the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much they can divulge into any of these if they really wanted to. And again, this sounds like another character that, whether it was mentioned or not previously, that you could definitely create something around that.
Oh yeah, look at this guy.
Yeah, I made sure he was sitting on a throne of bones, because I feel like if someone that's who's devouring his enemies would be sitting on a Game of Thrones style chair made of human bones. Again, it loosely ties into what HHN has done in the past, but I fell in love with that scare zone the 3 or 4 times that I went through it, and I felt like they really could do more with it. So that's kind of where I went with the icon I created.
Yeah, Vikings Undead was by far the scariest scare zone last year. Definitely, it ended up being your favorite scare zone. Right?
It actually made a really late push to be my favorite scare zone of last year. And I think a lot of that was because it actually uses like history and mythology and does it accurately. And yours ties back to that and uses the same pieces.
Absolutely.
So obviously, I'm kind of a sucker for something like this. So I'm a huge fan.
This would be a great like throne versus throne if you had Fenrir versus like Terra Crentis.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The two realms battling.
Yeah, maybe Fear brings Terra Crentis onto his side and says, Jack, let's go. Give me what you got. You're only a clown, pal.
Yeah.
So, Mike, is Body Double Team Jack or is he a Team
I think he has to be on the other side, right?
Yeah, because if he's trying to avoid Jack.
Jack murdered his grandfather.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, Fenrir has a comrade.
Happening.
Yeah.
In with the new, out with the old, I guess.
Yeah.
That is the Avengers of HHN, right?
Right. The Civil War. Yeah.
The Civil War. Yeah, there you go.
Aligning our
Team Jack or Team Fear.
Hey, I'm that last icon.
Hey, there we
What's
go.
up, guys? I was muted. I apologize. So I will start off by saying, aesthetically, my icon shares a lot with Nick's.
Nice.
Completely different angle, really. Just kind of the base of what he is kind of similar. I really like tying when things tie into the park, like when actual events that icons do take place at Universal Studios. I always kind of like that real world feel to it. Like this park exists as a park in this world, and this crazy shit just happens. So I'm kind of going to tie into that. So here we go. So for about the past 8+ years, there's been some really weird stuff happening after hours at Universal. Just kind of weird stuff, like there's been chum found in the lagoon water. Props have been stolen and broken. And then more recently, it's kind of picked up a little bit to the point where security guards are getting hurt. Some of them completely stabbed, and a few of them actually murdered. There's nothing on video. They can't figure out exactly what is going on until recently. So they kind of been doing investigation, figuring out what's going on, why there's been speared security guards. And after talking to them, there's really nothing crazy in common. They don't see much. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. The only thing in common is there's just like glowing orb they see every time it happens. So obviously that doesn't lead to much. What does that mean? But they thought about when stuff like this started happening. The low-level ones, like the chum in the water, started in January 2012. They realized the location of these happenings are always near the Amity Island restrooms and then into Diagon Alley. So they did a lot of research within the security files, seeing if there's anything that ties together. Then they go back to the 90s, where freakishly, it was so consistent, like once a month at least, they'd find this guy inside Jaws after hours. Sometimes he'd be on the dock. Sometimes he'd be inside the water. He's just always there. And he always had like a whaling spear. He had been arrested, trespassed. He always found a way back in. It was insane. Eventually, it just stopped happening. They'd claim they'd still hear him. He was always complaining about like the shark, and we have to rid Amity Island of this shark. But they never saw him again after like 99, 2000. Just there were rumors of people saying they still hear him, but that just sounds like a myth that every attraction and theme park has for their overnight cruise. Well, it was just about a year ago that they finally found some proof and were able to tie these stories to what is happening. They found a man, one of the security guards overnight, completely speared by a whaling spear, stuck to a wall. So they kind of started to figure out what was going on. So basically, they waited for this guy to come. They realized it always happened right outside Diagon Alley. So they basically set a team to go wait, and they set some guy as a trap. And it was true. It was the same guy from the 90s. He's dressed like a fisherman. He had his whaling spear. The difference from the 90s, he has this glowing green eye. And crazier is, he just kind of disappears and reappears. He comes out of this foggy area. This fog just appears. He would show up. When he saw the large team, back into the fog he goes. Nothing shows up on security footage. There's no trace of where he goes after. For the past year, they've been trying to find him. They can't. Security guards still end up getting hurt, even killed. And they don't know where to find him. They call him Amity for obvious reasons. But yeah, he's a huge terror to Universal. It's not surprising you haven't heard this story. They try to keep this under wraps, obviously. They have this murderer running around that they can't stop. They can't see, really. They occasionally see him, but then he just disappears. So if you ever wonder why security guards don't want to hang around Amity Island, Diagon Alley after hours, well, now you know why. And I'm trying to get him in here, but my computer's slow.
That sounds good. I wonder if that guy on Twitter who always like has videos of the Lagoon shows,
after hour Lagoon shows, has ever encountered him?
Yeah. There he is.
Nice.
Let's take a look at that.
And you have to kind of look in there really good. He has his glowing.
Oh, I see his little
eye.
green eye.
Oh yeah,
There it is.
Yeah, definitely another character that I could potentially play.
Yar.
So I kind of really wanted to tie it into HHN, but I thought it'd be fun to get a little different and tie him into an attraction within the park. And I thought, what better one than Jaws?
Right. The lost attraction.
Exactly.
I love it. I like the left field of it, where it's like brings the actual park in itself into it versus creating a story of, whether it's Norse gods or the Dead Man's Wharf. It ties into current day or actual realistic happens.
I like the idea of tying in something of the park itself. Like, I know that obviously HHN is its own entity, its own thing, but pulling in something from the theme park itself, I think, is a cool idea.
Does he ever roam too far and end up at like Dr. Phillips High School?
No, he's very limited.
Oh, okay, so like he hits HR and then he just has to turn back around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like basically through like that HR building to like the Amity Island restrooms. That's his domain.
Okay.
And Bubba Gums.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, sometimes he finds his way to
He
Bubba
probably
Gum.
visits there. I'm sure he likes that shrimp platter.
Yeah.
Does he just like go into Diagon Alley and just cry at night, kind of like the crying Indian ad from the 70s, where he's like missing the Jaws attraction?
Yeah, that'd be good to add in, but like he misses Jaws in the fact that he wants to kill the shark. So I don't know that. So on. Like, his whole thing was he was like a crazy old man who used to show up and try to kill an animatronic shark.
Right. He was like his nemesis is now gone though, so he really doesn't have other than the shark that's like out there. posed out there. He doesn't really have anything to fight for anymore, other than
not really.
Guests of the Park.
And this is also kind of like a two-parter that I have a little more to flesh out eventually. It would be like a sequel, he returns kind of year of exactly what happened to him between when they used to see him in the 90s and when they started to hear his voice rather than actually see him. So I'm interested to figure out where I'm going to go with that. I don't know yet.
I like this guy.
Yeah, it brings in that realism factor, which is always nice.
Yeah, that's one of my, when they do that, that's one of my favorites.
All right. Well, that does all of the 5 icons. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we enjoyed it. Duff, do we have anything planned next week, or do we just? We'll definitely have a show. Do we have any hints of what that's going to be?
We're going to talk about HHN Light versus this year in a certain way, or versus next year.
Versus next year, comparing kind of
what's going to happen. That's not the whole detail of the episode, but that's kind of like a little teaser of what it's going to be.
What will be the same? What will be different? Kind of comparing what we think.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun episode. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Fear and Beer, thanks so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having us. This was super fun. This is something we might have to revisit this, whether it's make a scare zone, make a map, make a something. This is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Become a series. Do you guys want to plug your social medias?
Yeah, so if you check us out, if you search Spotify Fear and Beer Podcast, we are also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm actually going to pull it up just to make sure, but I'm sure if you search Fear and Beer Pod, that will be our Twitter and Instagram. So if you see us there, give us a like, give us a follow, and we drop our episodes every Friday, and we sort of have like a little schedule that we go upon, which if you jump onto our feed, you'll catch up on that for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Go check them out for sure.
Yeah.
And then
we're going to,
we always forget, Nico, plug all your stuff. We never give you a shot.
Yeah. Especially, hardest working man in the business right now. It's, I'm on a couple other podcasts. If you have any fandoms that are a little bit closer to Disney, that's a little bit more your speed, or you enjoy that as well, then you can come join us on the Diz Referee podcast. The very popular Diz Ref from Twitter has his own podcast, and I help him out with that. And we just have a good time on there talking about Disney parks, the politics surrounding the Disney parks, and other people with terrible takes. So we definitely go into there. And then also my new podcast is I'm 13 and I Like It, a podcast where we talk about your favorite thing from your 13 years old. We've talked about Mike has been on the show here.
Yeah, so. I have nerded out for a good 90 minutes or so about Survivor. So if you are a Survivor nerd, I'm a huge nerd. So
it's a great app.
We talk about Survivor Borneo for way too long.
Quick question: do you think Jeff Probst could be like in HHN at all? Would that work?
Oh, absolutely.
Survivor is something you could do. Yeah,
Jeff Probst, the horror host. Yeah,
you could make that work.
And instead of like pizza fries, you spend $15 and you get like a ration of 5 pieces of rice.
Oh, do you know who would be like a straight up perfect character for your guy, Nick? Rupert. Rupert for Survivor. That's like the
Rupert.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy.
I had known about Survivor, but I never really watched it all too often.
That's because my father wasn't your father.
Yeah, no.
It made us
you were
watch
watching it all
kids.
the time. But I discovered it was on Hulu during quarantine. So before I gained my like 15, 20 pounds of quarantine weight, I dived in and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch Survivor. And as I watched it, I was like, wait, these guys lose like 30 pounds like in an instant. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to eat rice and I'm only going to watch Survivor for like, like 10 pounds. It was great.
Oh, that's what I should have done.
That might be the best diet I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to only eat when they eat, and I'm just going to watch Survivor.
Just walk around in your underwear. You know, it's the same thing, basically.
Or if you're Richard Hatch, you don't have to walk around in your underwear.
Especially on his birthday suit episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a fun time over there. So just have a listen. That's 13 and I like it. You can follow us on Instagram and on I think the Twitter's up now. I gotta check on that. So we release episodes every Wednesday.
Well, thank you again. We're going to release these pictures on our social media, and I know Fear and Beer's social media. Go ahead and let us know which one's your favorite. Comment. Well, I don't know if we're going to do an official poll or anything about who's the favorite, but we're competitive. We like to hear which one's your favorite.
Oh, I'm excited to see what people think about this.
I want to know how people think mine is awful. That's totally fine with me.
Duff has won like every competition we've had so far.
I'll be honest, I don't think I'm going to win this one. I don't think I got the best icon.
I think it would be close. Last time you definitely leaned into the HHN nerds, and I chose like Pennywise as the icon or something, hoping that I would get like the casuals. Did not work out. I did not win.
I mean, you did fine. You just didn't beat me.
No, I didn't. I was hoping that the HHN Facebook group would get me there. It didn't work.
Nope, still didn't work.
We've just stopped looking at that Facebook group.
Well, yeah, we don't need it.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, guys, for coming on, and thanks for having us on your show as well. And we'll see you in the streets.